Well, good Thursday evening, TSC family. Boy, what a monster this is right here, what it's going to become. You can see the area low pressure off the coast of California is getting ready to get picked up by the westerlies here. You see this big low up here? That's dragging all the cold air, funneling all the cold air down there too. It's going to meet up with all this moisture here. It's going to get met up then with all this cold air here, y'all. It's perfect setup for a crazy winter storm we're getting ready to see here. There's places that's going to get 2 feet of snow from this thing. I think we have blizzard conditions before it's all said and done. I do believe there's a chance we're going to see some blizzard conditions. Blizzard conditions is 3 hours of wind of 30 miles an hour with, I think, a quarter visibility is a criteria for a blizzard. But it's got to be 3 hours of 30 mile per hour sustained winds. We might get that, y'all. There's a possibility we might just see that. And if that's the case, some people are, man, I don't know how much. How prepared do you think most of the country is right now for this thing? Because the eastern half is going to get absolutely annihilated from this thing. Outside of Florida, Florida is about the only state that's going to be spared from this thing. Everyone else is going to have some impacts from this thing. Florida's probably not going to have much of an impact, except we'll get cold air next week from this thing. I'll take 2 feet of snow versus 2 inches of ice. Yeah, that's a fact, John. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Lots of great questions on the post. I've tried to answer all of the questions. Thanks, James. I can't get to all of them. That's just a pure fact. I've tried my best all day to stay on top of things, and sometimes guys like Louisiana was missed on that thing. I apologize for that. That's purely by mistake, and so I made up for it. I tried to give a forecast, a detailed forecast of every state on the eastern half that's going to be affected. I didn't cover too much up there in the very northeast, like Maine, up there. I didn't get to that. Great Lakes region, I didn't cover that much at all either, because really it's not going to be affected too much from this, I don't think. Probably a little bit of snow up there, but it's not really from this thing here. Arizona is clear too, thank goodness. Yeah, I don't know how much. Arizona's going to get probably some pretty. I'll look at Arizona for you here. Let's go forward here. Let's look at some things. First of all, here is the excessive rainfall forecast. There is nothing there for as rainfall, excessive rainfall there in Arizona that I see. Here's day 2. Now, tomorrow, here we start. Look at the rain there in Texas for a possibility now of some flash flooding. Good gosh, can you imagine that? Heavy rain here could cause flash flooding in the area here. And here's day 3. The net rain is forecast there in the Houston area. Possibility of flash flooding there. Can you imagine that heavy rain, heavy enough to cause flash flooding, mixed in with up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with the possibility of freezing rain? Y'all, that's crazy to see that right there. I mean, I seen that when I was going through this, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. A possibility of flash flood risk there in the Houston area, and all the possibility of freezing rain. I mean, man, oh man, how that's pretty insane to think that right there. Then you go to day 4, there's nothing out there as far as flash flooding concerns. Day 5, there is nothing either. So that eliminates everything from the Weather Prediction Center as far as excessive rainfall. Now here is what I'm gonna put up here. I'm gonna put up extreme impacts, okay? And y'all gotta watch this, okay? Let me get this option up here and zoom in there for you guys here, so you can see this, okay? So this is extreme impacts areas. So you go to day 2. Is there anything out there? No. Day 3. Now we're getting extreme. Now keep in mind, I have extreme impacts. Extreme. There's 4 different options there, I think. Yeah, there's major, there is minor, and then there's moderate. And I have extreme up, is what I have up here. Day 4. Oops, dadgummit. Sorry, y'all. There's day 4. And you can see the extreme conditions. Where's it at? It's over here in North Carolina, South Carolina, and right across Louisiana in the Mississippi right there. And up there in the Northeast. Day 5, it's gone. Capiche, it's out of there. So that's extreme. What does maybe major impacts look like? Let's look at that. Let's look at the major impacts. It's going to be a little bit broader area, won't it be? Where'd it go to? Okay, come on here now. Don't be doing that to me. Yeah, hold on here, y'all. A little bit of the page here's messing up here on me. Probably there's who knows how many people's on this page right now, right? Let's go to this one here. Let's go to this one. This is a better one anyway. All right, I'll have moderate up here now. Now watch this. Moderate impacts. You can see where the moderate impacts are. Here's major impacts. Man, crosshairs right there in Arkansas, Louisiana, across Mississippi, and back there in Texas. There's where the this is major impacts from the storm. You see where it's located at. So y'all, this is gonna create a problem for millions of people here. Here's extreme. Let me back this up now. Let me show you the extreme now. I mean, if you get anything in the extreme area in your area, you got big problems. And you see, the extreme is down there in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, getting over in Tennessee, isn't it? And then look over there in South Carolina, North Carolina region. There's where your extreme impacts are from ice. There's your extreme impacts right there. Now, is this subject to change? Well, of course it is. It absolutely is. No question about it, it is. Okay, what I'm going to show you next is the NAM model for the freezing rain. It's a short range model. It goes out to 84 hours out. So now that's all the way out to Monday. That's what I want to get to. We need an 84-hour forecast. Well, there it is on the NAM model. The NAM model is forecasting 2.82 inches of freezing rain across Mississippi. Right there. Across Mississippi. Over in North Carolina, South Carolina region. Man, y'all, the impacts of this is going to be crazy, guys. I mean, 2.82 inches of freezing rain in the forecast right there by the NAM model. And you go over to the East Coast. I mean, over here you're getting impacts here of an inch at least in areas. So this is going to be a doozy of a snow and freezing rainstorm. Here's the snow forecast from the system. I mean, look at that swath of snow. As much as, what does that say there? What does that say? 27 inches of snow in Missouri. 27 inches of snow there in Missouri, y'all. 21 inches of snow. Maybe it's over in here somewhere, too. Almost a foot of snow across southern Indiana and into Ohio. Up in Pennsylvania, foot of snow. New York City, foot of snow. So that's the NAM model. Here is another model. I don't know if the RFS model is working yet. Is it working? I think it is finally. Started working now. Okay. Here's the NAM model for the snow. There it is. See, these short range models are coming into play now. There's the NAM model for the snow. Here's a freezing rain from the this is the RFS model. Here's a freezing rain from it. 2.24 inches of freezing rain, y'all. Good gosh. Has anybody ever seen, you guys in Texas, you had a pretty bad freezing rain event. I don't remember how much freezing rain did you guys get in the Houston area? Do y'all remember? In Dallas, Fort Worth area? Do you know how much freezing rain you got? The problem at hand is, though, is your power grid just failed on y'all. And then once it failed, then you had what? You had no power, no electricity, no heating, and your pipes bursted on you. I don't recall how much freezing rain you guys had and snow and sleet in that area. This might be similar in this area right here, say of Arkansas and Tennessee and Mississippi and Louisiana. It might be very similar to that, y'all. before it's all said and done. The similarities of that could be very similar to what we've seen back in Texas here. And you go over to the eastern region, it is really bad over here in North Carolina and South Carolina right here. I mean, y'all, really bad stuff here is getting ready to happen here to these people. If you're not ready, if you're not ready for this, guys, you're gonna be really unprepared for what's gonna happen to y'all if you're not prepared for this. What other model can I give you? Here is the. Let me go to this model here. This goes out to 84 hours out as well. And let's see what it's showing. This is a snow and freezing rain model. What's that giving us? About 1.32 inches. And that's getting there into the metro Atlanta area with about a half an inch of freezing rain. That's what that's giving us here. Which model do I think is correct? Man, I hope this is more correct and not some of these other models. That's showing about 1.32 inches of freezing rain, which is, golly gee, that's crazy amount of freezing rain. There's trees won't be standing. The power lines will be down everywhere in this sector right here. Just 1.32 inches of freezing rain. You got to look at that, the freezing rain, and then the wind. How much wind do we talk about here? Let's back this up. Let's watch the wind forecast here. Are we getting much wind here? Wind gust? You see right there in Arkansas, you're getting about 22, 23 miles an hour wind. Y'all, if you get a wind like that with that much freezing rain on your trees and power lines, they won't stand a chance. They absolutely will not stand a chance of standing and staying on electric lines, staying on the poles. They're not going to stand a chance to it. They're all coming down, all of them. And that's what I fear is going to happen here with this stuff. The models are affixed to this thing. They really are. All right, now let's go to this next model run here. This also gives us a long-range forecast here. About 22 inches of snow right there. Go to the east. Big time snow up here up in the northeast. And then where's all the freezing rain at? Well, it's going to be right on through here. Let's see what it shows. Now, one thing to note, all this freezing rain that has been forecast, man, that's showing 2.45 inches of freezing rain. Huge amounts of freezing rain over here in North Carolina, and especially there in Virginia, West Virginia area. And then over in the central region, just 2.36 inches of freezing rain there. In the same, y'all, the models are showing the same area for bad stuff, isn't it? And that's parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and getting up into Tennessee. And I'm going to say back there into Texas. That's an inch of freezing rain back there. Man, that's getting an inch of freezing rain here in the Houston area right there in this model. That's getting almost an inch of freezing rain there in the Houston area, y'all. All right, that's the last short-range model there is. Here's the HR model, and it doesn't go out far enough yet to really give us a really good idea, but it does give us the freezing rain totals here, there in Texas and Arkansas, and you can see 1.34, and that's not far enough out there yet. We haven't seen all the freezing rain that's going to happen here yet. The HR model goes up to 48 hours out, and that's why. Snow totals. There it is right there. Good gosh, 31 inches of snow. 31 inches. Now that 31 inches might be back here in the Colorado Rockies back here. That might be back here in the higher elevations back here. That 31 inches right there. Let's go to the east. 17 inches. So that's probably that area right there is getting the 17. Again, the HR model's not far enough out there to really see anything, y'all. Unfortunately, it also also is showing up in the Spire model. Let's look at it. Let's see, that goes out to plenty far enough out. It does. And let's look at it does not give us freezing rain, but it does give us sleet. Wow. Is that, now, this is one thing we've got to really talk about now here is the sleet. Some of these models are putting down as much as, like it is right here, 7 inches of sleet. What would that do? Well, here's a problem at hand with sleet. Sleet is ice pellets. If you get these ice pellets covering the road, and then you get a little bit of freezing rain down on top of it, and those mitigate together, boy, what an unbelievable freezing rain episode that would make on the roads. Now sleet won't stick to power lines. That's a good side. But sleet will have a damaging effect if you get 7 inches of sleet on your roof. And where is it going to happen at? It's going to tear your gutters down. I've seen that before myself. So I know what sleet can do with that. If you get that much sleet, you're going to have gutter problems, is what you're going to have. And I don't have any idea to tell you how to get that sleet out of your gutters when it's all kinds of miserable weather out there. But there's going to be a problem there with sleet, and it's maybe going to be gutters being ripped off your house from too much weight. That's what that problem is going to be. Uh, Here is the European model. Now let's look at it. It updated here this evening. Here's the forecast for snow. Lots of snow. Lots of snow. You can see that snow forecast there. 23 inches of snow in places. 2 feet. Southern Indiana. A foot of snow across there. You get over in the East Coast. A foot of snow over almost that entire area there in the pink is nearly a foot of snow. New York City. Basically a foot of snow. Here is the freezing rain. Man, the European model has been really aggressive with this stuff, hasn't it? And look how aggressive it is here. Y'all, this is nuts. Over 1.5 inches of freezing rain there in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and getting over there into Virginia and West Virginia there. That darker red right there, that's basically over 1 to 1.5 inches of freezing rain right there. Then you go over here to the central region. Incredible stuff here, y'all. 2.28 inches of freezing rain. That is absolutely insane crazy to think that's going to happen. The thing of it is that we're seeing too many models showing it now, right now. We're getting too many. You get over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, inch of freezing rain. Problem? Boy, it could be. Yeah, you get an inch of freezing rain there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, that's going to shut down Dallas. that will absolutely shut it down right there. Now, what does the sleet look like here? Sleet totals now on the European model is not nearly as high. So what does that mean? It's very simple. The way I've looked at this really closely over the last few hours here. Here's what's happening. The European model is putting down a lot more freezing rain and snow, and not as much sleet. Okay? You look at the sleet over the east, not as much sleet. Okay? But look at the GFS model. What is it doing? It's hammering sleet down here. But what is it also doing? It's not putting down as much freezing rain. It's still putting down a lot of freezing rain, but it's not putting down quite as much snow through here. Look at that, 2.5 inches of freezing rain, guys. That's unheard of to think that's what's going to happen. Again, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on the GFS model, 1.1 inches of freezing rain there. Houston area, maybe a 1/2 inch of freezing rain in the Houston area. Lake Pontchartrain, it looks like right now, Mary, it looks like Lake Pontchartrain is going to be okay. You're going to get a very, very, very cold rain there, is what you're probably going to get. Just a very cold rain. Don't see much model guidance right now getting down there in the Lake Pontchartrain area right now at this time. It doesn't appear to be. The European model, I don't think, showed it there either. Did it? It did not. So it doesn't look like me Lake Pontchartrain here is going to have much of a wintry forecast. Let me just say this from this system. Now, why am I saying from this system? Because there's another system behind this one, y'all, and it's traveling very far south right now on the models. What's going to happen here, y'all? It's going to be a disastrous power outage event coming. That's what's going to happen. I don't think there's any doubt that there's going to be somebody here in the continental U.S. and it could be millions of people. I did a little thing today. What was live this afternoon. So what I did, I checked to see how many people is in the pink shaded area. You know what it came out to be? Who could tell me what it came out to be? What was that total that came out to be this afternoon? What was that total figure in the pink? Remember what it was? 80 million. 80 million people in the danger zone of freezing rain. 80 million. We might see 8 to 10 million people. It's 80 to 90 million, James, what it was. We might see 10 to 15 million people with no power. With no power. Maybe more. Maybe more. Y'all, this is going to be a crazy thing. It's going to impact 230 million across 33 states. That's a crazy storm, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. So, there's not much more I can really show you guys, honest and truly. I did a very detailed analysis per each state that I could think of, and basically I covered Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I did the Washington, D.C. area. I did New York area. I did Pennsylvania. I did Ohio. And I basically covered the whole eastern coast. I did not go in the really far northeast. If there's a state out there you want me to cover real closely for you, I'll be glad to post it out there on the board for everyone to see. If there's anything out there you want me to post out there to help you guys out, I don't know what else I can do at this point to tell you anything differently what it's going to do. It's going to be, Cindy. Unfortunately, the one thing I got to show y'all is how cold it's going to be. Here is, first of all, the wind gust. Here's a wind gust swath. If you look where that really high rain, freezing rain is in that area right there, guys, you got wind gusts of 35 to 40 miles an hour. 35 to 40 miles an hour. Now, I don't see up here, I don't really see maybe some blizzard conditions there in Arkansas, maybe. And maybe they're in Kentucky, Tennessee. You could experience some blizzard conditions there. I don't see that 30 mile per hour wind, sustained wind for a 3-hour period that's needed to have blizzard conditions. I don't see it there. So we may not have what we call a true blizzard conditions on hand, but if you get 2 feet of snow, many people would claim that's a blizzard, right? by just fun definition of 2 feet of snow. I mean, man, oh man, that's fun for kids. It's horrible for adults, is what that would be. Here's temperature, though. I do want to cover this. And this is really the danger of this thing. Let me back this up for, let me go to Monday, okay? Monday at 7 a.m. in the morning, okay? This is what 7 a.m. in the morning looks like on Monday. There it is right there. That's 7 a.m. When all this freezing rain is snow on the ground, okay? This is not, and I repeat, this is not wind chill, y'all. This is real temperature from the European model. Look at everywhere in green is below 0 temperatures. Real temperature. Here's wind chill. This is crazy. Look at the wind chills. Guys, this is Fahrenheit now. Indiana, 20 degrees below 0 wind chill. With 2 feet of snow on the ground, maybe. Can you imagine that? What if you lose your power, y'all? That's what I'm fearing right now. If we don't have power in these places with these crazy temperatures here, and as Cindy said, there could be loss of life here. From look what happens here on Tuesday morning. Here's Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. This is the real temperature. Arkansas, you're below 0. Indiana, below 0. Ohio, below 0. Oh, we're in the east. Look at this. All below 0 over here. Look at all this. Look at the single digits there in Tennessee and Kentucky, where places like that where may not be any electricity at all. And this is real temperature. This is not wind chill. Here's the wind chill. There's your wind chill right there. Look at the wind chill here. My gosh, 37 degrees below zero wind chill in places here. 37 degrees below zero. It's 35 miles per hour. Quarter mile of visibility. Yeah. And that's all it is. It is a quarter mile visibility and winds exceeding 35, in excess of 35 miles per hour. But it's got to be for, I think, is it for 3 hours, isn't it, James? It's 3 hours is what it is. I said 30. It's 35 miles per hour, James. Just correct me there. It's 35 miles per hour. So I don't think we'll get blizzard conditions here. But man, oh man, you look at the wind chill here, though. Y'all, this is Tuesday at 7 a.m. Let's go to Wednesday at 7 a.m. There's your 7 a.m. forecast for Wednesday. Do you see much of a difference here? None, is there? Cold. Y'all, we got almost 5 days of horribly cold temperatures here that we're dealing with. And why is that? When you have frozen precipitation on the ground, snow and freezing rain, ice, it creates a thermal cooling blanket, is what it does. And that's the reason why you're seeing, and not only that, you're getting, look at this, look where it's coming from, straight from the Arctic. This cold air is coming straight from the Arctic up here too. This down here is from the freezing rain and snows on the ground. This up here is coming straight from the Arctic up here. Stays in place for a while, doesn't it? Doesn't go away. And that is bad. That is bad stuff I see right there. Now I'm going to show you something else here before I get out of here tonight. So I already kind of said something about it a while ago, and that's the possibility of another snowstorm following this. So here's snow. Let's watch for that next snowstorm. There it comes. Look at that. Going right through Louisiana, through the southern parts of the state. Look at Tallahassee, across Florida here, right across there. It's all snow right through there. When does that happen? Around January 31st is when that takes place. January 30th, January 31st. Now this is the European model. Does the GFS model show this? Look at the GFS model. It too has that snow moving along the south here. Now, how strong is, how big is it going to be? Don't know yet, right? We just don't know yet how bad that's going to be. But it is showing snow all the way. You know, I told my wife a while ago, I would not be surprised that we don't get a snowflake or two here in Tampa Bay before it's all said and done, before this winter season's over with. That would not surprise me at this point, as many of these cold fronts that we're dealing with. There's another little thing of cold air, little snowstorm coming into play. You can see it coming out of Canada up there. So winter's here. It's not going anywhere. Cold air stuck in place, and kids will have a blast in the snow. Just be careful though, y'all, because freezing rain with sleds and stuff, it's dangerous because there's no stopping these things. Man, and they get going fast. And don't let them be using your sleds out in the roads, because man, those kids can slide underneath a car and it would be bad news. We used to do that when we were kids. Use our sled in the roads, and I think about it now. I think, man, how dangerous was that back then, doing that kind of stuff? And it was. So y'all be careful, and I'll come back tomorrow morning and we'll look at the models again to see what they say. But it all starts tomorrow, y'all. It all starts tomorrow. So be careful out there. Prepare and have fun if you're a kid, but be careful as a supervisor, as an adult for your children. All right, in that snow and freezing rain. All right, y'all. Have a good night. May God bless you all.